Hello, and welcome to another episode of No One Can Hear You Stream Movie Review. This week, we will be reviewing Uncut Gems, starring Adam Sandler, produced by the Safdie brothers. So, Kayla, if you would give us a brief synopsis.
Yeah, so this movie centers around Adam Sandler's character, Howard Ratner, who owns a jewelry store in Manhattan. He essentially has a business partner who recruits high profile clients like athletes, musicians, that kind of thing to sell expensive jewelry to. And he is also an avid gambler to the point where it's dangerous. And you quickly find out that he has a lot of gambling debts. And it's essentially him trying to work around paying off those debts that he has, but also not really being able to fight his addiction and not really even trying to and not realizing he has a problem and the trouble that gets him into. You know, you see his marital issues, his kind of distance from his family because of that. It all kind of centers around that, him trying to sell the next big item, the next large sale to a celebrity or to whomever to be able to support his gambling problem and his addiction. He ends up getting this very expensive, uncut gem of opal, and he's trying to auction it off, and that's kind of what it centers around.
What did you think about the production overall?
Like production style and everything, like cinematography and everything.
Costumes, sets.
Okay,
All the good
so
stuff.
I thought the intro and the outro, personally, I wasn't a fan. I thought it was a little bit dated. The music was really dated. It kind of goes in like this doesn't really give away anything, so I'll just say it. So that one of the lines when he pulls out the black opal, and he says something along the lines of, they say that you can see the entire universe when you look into an opal. And that's basically how it goes into the film, is you start off by like searching through these galaxies and then into something else and then into the movie. And then that's the same thing with the outro.
In the intro,
it goes. I don't want to say that.
No, it goes into his asshole.
Yeah, well, it starts off through the galaxies. I was gonna leave that part out, but I guess not. It goes through the galaxy, and then you're like, wait, are we inside somebody's body? And you realize you're inside his small intestine because he's getting a colonoscopy. And then the movie starts. So that was kind of funny, I guess, but I just didn't think it fit with the rest of it. It felt very out of place for me personally. And like I said, I just felt like it was a bit dated. And maybe that was their idea, because I felt like the overall vibe of the movie felt dated. Even though it said it was set in 2010, the fashion seemed almost like early 2000s. Just very...
maybe even before that.
Yeah, very...
It was really strange. And
yeah, and the overall feeling of it, the music in the background was like very 80s, 90s, the score, yeah, and it I don't know. So, it didn't really distract in any way, but I just felt like I don't know why they made that choice. And then the way they shot it, do you feel like it was almost felt like grainy?
Yeah, it was definitely grainy, but everything about it felt dated, as you put it. But I don't know how you can say that the score didn't add anything to it. It really did for me.
Really?
Yeah, just this electro synth led like pulsating feeling of like claustrophobia that was present. It felt like you were in a heart attack almost, and it paired well with the film because it moves at such a blistering pace.
Yeah.
Like you feel, I don't know, for me it just felt like I was having a heart attack the entire film.
Yeah, I literally said that to you during the film, didn't I?
Mm-hmm.
But I guess I wasn't relating that to the music or the score.
I thought like paired together really well. I thought that was obviously very intentional.
I guess mainly my main issue was it's not even an issue. Like, it's not really like I have this major issue with the way they started and ended the film. I just didn't love it. Like didn't hate it, but I didn't love it. I just didn't think it added anything to it. I did like the grainy effect that they added and kind of making it feel like you were jumping back in time, but then I guess what I don't get is that felt like it was a certain era, but then it was set in 2010. I think that's what was confusing to me. So I don't think that it's necessarily that I didn't enjoy that aesthetic as much as I don't feel like it melded that well, because I mean, I get that 2010 was 10 years ago, but it doesn't feel, everything else felt like it was from 20 years ago.
Mate,
I don't know.
And this could be me just trying to produce a shot in the dark, right?
Mm-hmm.
But do you think there's maybe something along the lines of that he's still trying to live in his past a bit because he feels like he's aging, he's past his glory days. He's traded in his wife for a younger model. He surrounds himself with these like strange early, I don't know, when were Furbies a thing? Like in the
That's
90s?
true.
There was like he has these Furbies on necklaces. He has a plasma globe in his office.
Yeah.
Randomly. So that must it all means something, I feel like. Maybe we just completely missed that, you think?
I think you're right. I think that probably does have something to do with it, why they were trying to give it this whole 90s aesthetic, but it was set in 2010.
Yeah.
So it is almost
that's
as if...
like the music was, to me, maybe there's music historians that definitely know more than me, but it seemed like 80s with this like electro synth beats, and then there was 90s Furbies references, and then early 2000s fashions, and it was set in 2010. Mm-hmm. So all of it is probably all intentional, but maybe we're just missing something.
No, I think you're right. I think it just indicates how out of touch he is.
Yeah, that's probably it.
And I mean, even from the way his Manhattan apartment is decorated. Did you pick up on that? Yeah. It was just the worst. So you're like, oh man, but I bet that was really cool in 2001.
Yeah, 20 years ago or something.
And so I think that's definitely what it is he's getting in on all the things that he thought were cool, kind of, and
he still wants to live this bachelor life like he did when he was a kid before he had all these major responsibilities,
or that he missed out on,
and where it wouldn't have mattered like how he was behaving back then, but now everything matters because he's got 3 kids.
Yeah,
he's got a wife and a gumar. Is that what they're called? A bit on the side. Is that the
isn't it a gamor, like a kind of like, I don't know. You know, from The Sopranos.
Yeah, I thought it was gumar, wasn't it?
I don't remember.
All right. Maybe I'm getting that wrong.
I don't know.
All right, let's move on anyway to the performances. And really, there's only one that needs to be talked about, but we can address all of the others as well.
Sure. Okay. I think we all had, I don't want to say big expectations. I feel like, I had high expectations for him going into this just from seeing the previews and the trailers for this film, because before you even really know what it's about, when you're seeing just the clips of it, first of all, it looks phenomenal just from the clips, and you just think, wow, this is the role that he was made to play. And I feel like he did not disappoint. I feel like this was a role that was made for him. It fit, he fell right into that pocket so easily, and that he just became this guy. Like, I completely believed his representation of this guy, and it's like he knows some people like that. You know what I mean? I feel like it was very easy for him to enter into this role, and I thought he did a great job. I don't really have anything else to say.
You never for once thought you were watching Adam Sandler, did you? You just the character felt so real. And I imagine just from meeting a few of your dad's friends who your family's from New Jersey, your dad definitely knows people like that.
Maybe around that same vein, yeah.
Not necessarily him, but just like a wisecracker, quite charming, but also a little bit of a piece of shit, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say probably around that same vein. I'm sure he knows people like that. Something that was unexpected for me, and where I thought I was gonna kind of lose interest, I guess, was when he starts crying when his life is falling apart, and he's crying in his office. But I think he just did such a good job of making this person so absolutely pathetic and almost unsympathetic that you don't lose interest as much as you almost find it funny, even though he's not over the top, I would say, in his performance. Like, this isn't a normal Adam Sandler role where he is, just yelling all the time or acting really extra and over the top when he starts crying and stuff, because of how he's built this character to just kind of be really tragic in a sense of building his own grave, that I just lost sympathy for him. And so when he was crying, I just laughed because I thought it was funny, because I'm just like, dude, you put yourself in this position.
I thought that it spoke a lot about his performance, that even though he'd done all of these just fucking ridiculously stupid things, and obviously it's because he's an addict, but still you think, come on, you can't, not another really poor decision. Like,
yeah.
You almost start to believe, like, how on earth did you even get in a position to be in this position? How did you earn all of this money to be able to lose it and fritter it away? But even having said all that, when it came down to it, and it seemed like he was going to lose everything, I still had a lot of sympathy for him, because he just had this sort of strange charm to him that I didn't initially expect when we'd seen the trailers. Mm-hmm. And even like as soon as he walked on screen, he just made me smile. Just his like schmoozy little mannerisms and his cheeky little face.
I have mixed feelings about it. I feel like on one hand, I was just so irritated with him that he needed to fail in order to learn his lesson. And so I wanted him to fail so that he would stop being such an idiot. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but no matter how much he failed, he never
Yeah,
learned.
And then I just kind of was like, come on, man, enough is enough here. Learn your lesson.
Yeah.
So I have mixed emotions about it. But at the same time, like you said, he's an addict. So you do have sympathy for him there. So overall, I do think it was layered for sure. I just think that, he was very multidimensional. He made you sympathetic with him, but also pissed off and frustrated the entire time. I think I felt more of the frustrated and you felt more of the sympathetic.
Another strength of the film was the supporting characters. It felt like every character that came on screen was fully realized, and they had such a huge personality. Even the people he spent just a few seconds on screen with, like do you remember those twins that come on and they're looking for money? Yeah, they're just hilarious.
Yeah.
And I feel the entire film's filled with people like that, and as soon as they walk on screen, you sort of understand who they are and you get their personality. It's hilarious.
I thought that was great that there's clearly so much relationship already built between him and these other small minor characters that were in the film that you only see for a little bit, but you could really tell that they have a history and what that history is,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you get glimpses of it and you don't really need the entire backstory to fully understand what it is. You just kind of get it.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really fun and added a lightness to it with those characters. So what did you think of the overall story then?
I'm not sure really. I feel like it's not a new story particularly, is it? I feel like I've seen films like this before, just somebody trying to settle all of their debts in some way or fashion.
You know what I'll say? I feel like yes, but also I don't think I've seen it so domestic, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's always like high crime sort of
car chases, big shootouts. This was
domestic drama with that as I agree.
And so I thought that was a really interesting take on it, because I said to you that it was, when we were leaving the theater, I said, that was just really not what I expected it to be, which isn't a bad thing, but I did expect it to be like these car chases and he's running away from these debtors and blah, 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 blah. And that's not what this movie is. It's just a completely different, more realistic take on what that is, I would say. Somebody who has a gambling problem, and I wouldn't, it's not the most realistic, but I think
he needs one last shot, and then he'll get all the money, and he'll get the
that
girl.
kind of, yeah, and it's always that cycle, isn't it? It's always one bigger, one bigger, one bigger.
Yeah.
And
so it was nothing new or game changing, but I enjoyed the pace at which it was set. It was incredibly fast paced. The script was very similar to, just very quick witted, free flowing, real dialogue.
And the script, to me, also helped to the dialogue to me also helped to enable that feeling of anxiety and tension, because it was very much people speaking over each other all the time and trying to get the last word in and never really finishing a full sentence, and everybody's getting cut off and walking out on each other, and you know what I mean?
Yeah, it wasn't written as if for somebody to have steal the spotlight for a second, and then somebody will retort with something even more quick-witted. It was just very real, wasn't it?
Yeah, almost that. There's a term for it. It's like a new style of filming now. It's called mumble drama or something like that. I can't remember what it's called. And it's essentially very loose script with more natural cadence of speaking, and then a lot of it is improvised. I wouldn't say the script felt improvised, but it did feel very natural. The pace felt normal and natural. It didn't feel as scripted as other films do, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to give our ratings before we discuss it any further? Because I kind of want to discuss the ending, but I don't want to spoil it for everybody if they haven't seen it already.
Yeah. So
would you watch it at the cinema? Would you wait for it to come out on streaming platforms, or would you just miss it entirely?
I would say that it's worth going to the movie theater to see. I think that seeing it on the full screen with the soundtrack and everything behind it has a more encompassing effect. I think any of those movies that are going to be high intensity that are kind of anxiety driven, I guess I would say, are better seen in the theater, because you really get the full all-encompassing effect of everything that's going on, and you can really kind of just zone in rather than being distracted. I just don't feel like it's one of those films that is as easily watched at home when you have other distractions going on. I think it's better to see it in the theater and worth seeing in the theater to get the full effect of the film.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think watch it at the cinema. For me, I'd say it's in the top 10 films of the last year.
I'd say top 10.
Top 10.
I mean, I think it's definitely Oscar worthy. I think this is his push for an Oscar. I think that it'll get a nom. I don't know if it'll win anything.
Could push top 5 for me.
Just really unexpected from Sandler, I'd say, in a good way.
Yeah, this is his Dreamgirls almost, as that was to Eddie Murphy. I mean, he's had a lot of duds in the past. People didn't really take him very seriously as an actor. And then you have that one film that just
sets you back.
Yeah, puts you back on top. And I think this is Adam Sandler's Dreamgirls, I think. Anyway, yeah, let's discuss the ending quickly before we stop. So please turn off now if you haven't seen it, because
we don't want to spoil it.
Yeah, the film won't hit as hard if you know what happens.
At the end of the film, Adam Sandler makes basically a final giant bet on a basketball game that will essentially absolve all of his outstanding debts, put him back in the black and making money again, and all the pressure will be off. At this point, he has locked these goons in a room because they've been, chasing him, trying to chase down the money, and he's forcing them to watch the basketball game with him so that he can prove to them that he is going to win this money. And then if he doesn't, then they'll just have their way with him, and he's going to have to do what they say and probably get the shit beat out of him. There's this just very high pressure scene of everyone watching the basketball game, hoping that it's going to turn out in his favor and feeling like it's probably not going to, essentially, right?
This is something I think we failed to mention earlier on. I never thought that I'd want to see Adam Sandler watch a basketball game so fucking much. That was one of the funniest parts of the film, where he's just like fidgeting to every point that's being made, and it's hilarious, isn't it?
It's like you're watching somebody watch something, and it was still really exciting. So they're watching the basketball game. It starts off kind of rocky, but it's in the fourth quarter. There's like a couple minutes left. So he finally wins the bet, and he lets them out, and he's saying, you see, I told you I could do it. And one of the goons shoots Adam Sandler right in the face, then proceeds to rob the place, and then shoots the main gangster in the face. So basically everyone dies and no one gets what they want. I have, again, mixed feelings about it because I feel like, personally, I think that was the best way to end the film. I really do.
It was easily the best way to end the film.
I just feel like you want Adam Sandler to win, but at the same time, I was just thinking the whole time, he can't win. If he wins this bet, he's never going to learn his lesson. Mm-hmm. They can't have him win. He's such a scumbag. That's how I felt the whole time. So when he got shot in the face, you're sad because you don't want him to die, but also, well, at least he can't continue this horrible toxic cycle, and this is how it ends. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's still really horrible.
It's the only way to break the cycle, almost.
Yeah.
But also, it's just there's some sort of strange poetry in the fact that the biggest win of his life is paired with the ultimate loss.
Yeah. He never gets to experience the biggest win of his life, essentially.
No.
But also, I think that speaks to the fact that he never really did anyway. Because any time he would win, he would just take that money and lose it.
It's the next bet, yeah.
Yeah, so I think that just shows the whole nature of it. Like, no matter what, he wouldn't have been satisfied. He probably would have won that money and then lost it all again and not paid the people back and just kept going and going and going in this cycle. So, that's what you would presume from his character. You want to believe that this would be the final one. And it is. Because he can't anymore.
I think it also hits so hard because you don't experience that level of violence
the entire movie
up until that point. All you see is he gets like hit in the face a couple times, gets a couple bruises, but nothing to that extent. So when that finally happens, you're like, fuck.
It's so unexpected.
Really shocking, yeah.
I think I turned to you and I was like, oh, I should have seen that coming.
Yeah.
But
there were gasps in the audience, so it felt like not a lot of people did, and everybody walked out really glum, didn't they?
Yeah, shell-shocked.
Yeah, almost. Yeah, it was crazy. All right, let's end it there. So go and watch
Uncut Gems.
Run to Uncut Gems.
Yeah, I'd say definitely try to get in theaters and see it before it's out.
Jog or run? Run.
I'd run to see it.
Run to Uncut Gems.
Yeah.
I would run to Uncut Gems, yes.
But not too fast, don't fall.